And my SRS are both called the Theater Materials Description Project as part of the Henry Strouss Performing Arts at Washington and Lee Special Collections and Archives. You'll soon all know what this means. It's a bit of a mouthful, but let's jump into it. If we haven't met, my name is Amelia Fisher. I study history, education, and theater here at Washington and Lee. A little different from the last presentation. This summer, I'm working under the direction of archivist Maddie Clear and digital scholarship librarian Paula Kaiser, along with archive assistant Caroline Diet. Say hi, Caroline. And digital archive assistant Dee Sackett. And so we're all working on processing this donation by Henry Strouss. So you might be wondering, who is Henry Strouss? Henry McCandless Strouss is a Washington and Lee class of '61 alumni with an affinity for the performing arts. So here's a little list of his activities. I specifically wanted to highlight his Glee Club membership and publicity management for the W&L theater troupe known as the Troubadours. He requested I include this painting of him that is from the time that he played a role in a show called Aida. He's particularly fond of opera, and he's been giving tours at the Met Opera since the 70s, but he's attended many different types of shows around the world, and he is a member of a few organizations that support the performing arts, such as the Lambs Club. He's a donor of the collection we're currently processing. So, the Henry Strouss collection. Since the 1980s, shipments of opera programs, theater playbills, school publications, church bulletins, festival packets, orchestra set lists, promotional pamphlets, and so much more have been coming into special collections. Some of these materials are very old, so right here we have a program for a show called Oberon from 1826. So that's about the same time that it was originally composed. And some of the materials are very new. So to the far side there, we have a Life of Pi program from March 2023, and that show just closed on Broadway this past Sunday. As for locations, we have tons of materials from New York City, nearly every US state, Germany, England, particularly London, France, Hong Kong, some of our materials, all sorts of languages. So we have programs in Arabic, Hebrew, Czech, we have Polish, there's the Hebrew, and here is some Japanese as well. So we really do have quite the variety. I wanted to share just a few of these pieces that particularly grabbed my attention. So we have some shows featuring everybody's favorite witches and wizards. So this one has a Maggie Smith signature. We have a decent amount of signatures in our collection. We have some more interesting ones are Louis Armstrong from when he was here performing at W&L, and Cher, just to name a few. But yes, before she played McGonagall, she spent some time on Broadway. Here is another playbill here. This is from the Boston's Colonial Theater production of Follies. So many playbills inside have reviews by professionals. But I love this one because it's another example of annotations that we have besides the signatures. So this is actually from one of Henry's friends named Chuck. So let me read some excerpts for you. A strange show, not happy. Very few laughs, too long, more than several numbers running longer than they should. Bittersweet characters, which should be likable. I and the audience didn't, quote unquote, feel for them. Consequently, show does not soar and certainly does not involve you. He goes on to talk about how he's interested to see how things change with the show over time before it moves from Boston to theaters in New York City. Really could be a quote-unquote smash with some rewriting and other work. Idea is terrific, but for some reason it seems dull, dreary, and sad. So yes, this points to kind of the life cycles of shows, that they can change, mold, move over time. Last, we have some materials from 1955. On its own, it seems like any other concert. It is special because it's one of many concerts in the Berlin Philharmonic's first North American tour. However, I personally wouldn't have noticed it without first finding this protest piece over here. This flyer points to a much deeper story about the time in which it was produced. a story that I could find out more about using my Washington and Lee New York Times subscription. So if you didn't know that you have that, speak to somebody in the library. They will help you set it up. So that is an article on the side there that helped us both learn more and actually find the date for this piece. All this to say, in more ways than one, the collection contains multitudes. So what do we do with all of these different types of materials? What did I mean when I said that we were processing the collection? So my focus on this project is using my background in theater studies, my experience with the materials, and research from other entities that have their own theater collections to help us make sure that we are sorting, organizing, and generally making sure the collection is available in ways that are useful for researchers. So theater can sometimes evade strict categorizations, which means we sometimes have to see how other collections are formatted. So I started on the Society for American Archivists, and they had a link to the Theater Library Association, where we found the collection that seems to be most like our own, the University of Maryland's Michelle Smith Performing Arts Library. Oh, if we do come across any sorting obstacles, we'll likely check and see what tags they use. We'll get back to tags in a minute, so keep tags up here for me. And we'll see how they are organizing things. So speaking of organization, first we had to do a massive initial sort. Everything came out of the original boxes that they were sent in, and we started to pile them up on the tables. This is a semi-before picture. So what happened was, as we sorted, we started to learn more about the materials and where they came from and how things have changed in theater over time. And so we separated out the Carnegie Hall programs. We ended up needing about 8 boxes about this size to store them all. We also have a lot of Lincoln Center's repertoire. It's even more massive. So outside of those kind of larger organizations that will have their own series in the collection, we mainly sorted out by genre. I demonstrate more the process of the sorting with the plays and musicals column here. So then we boxed them based on the organization that owned the theater, then by the physical theater venue where the shows were performed, and then those venues are alphabetized in the box, and then the shows are placed in by performance date. So once everything is sorted, we have to get them into these little white envelopes with the performance name, date, collection number at the top there, and the number of the box and the number of the folder, which we need because one, if we have a number order and people take things out to look at them, much easier to put back in the box if they have a number ordered. And two, because we need that number so that we can properly upload it to ArchiveSpace. So now ArchiveSpace and the digital archives are 2 places online where you can learn about the collection. So ArchiveSpace is what I would say is the online way to search information about the collection so that you can physically find the materials, where digital archives is where the materials will be converted from a physical to a digital format so that they can be viewed from anywhere in the world. Both systems use tags. ArchiveSpace calls some of these tags subjects and agents. So this is another example of what some of these programs look like. And this over to the side is an example of what the Excel sheet that we plug all the information into that we upload to ArchiveSpace would look like. So at the top, it is very small, but we have that collection number I pointed out on the envelope earlier. Title of the show would be Philadelphia Orchestra. Hierarchical relationship would be that it's a folder inside a box. That's what that's about, and it is labeled one item. Publish true and restrictions false. We want you to be able to see them on the website, as well as the language, which is published, so you can see that. Creation refers to the date of the performance at the top. The date is single unless it's a show that's performed across multiple dates, then we would make an inclusive date or a bulk date. And then we come to agents. So we put a few general agents on each program. So for example, we would tag all the people involved in the show as an agent, or the major players involved in the show as an agent, where the Philadelphia Orchestra and Carnegie Hall would get tagged as corporate agents. Then we could tag orchestral music, that's what that long number at the very end is, as a subject. Each of these tags has a unique number associated with it. So Carnegie Hall's is 1711. So that's the kind of thing that goes into the spreadsheet, which gets uploaded to ArchiveSpace, so that you can search these tags in ArchiveSpace and find an item's information location. Where ArchiveSpace works with a few more general tags, the digital archives operate with something called Dublin Core. And that system can be much more specific. So going off of our last example program where Riccardo Muti is just marked as a person in ArchiveSpace, in Dublin Core we can specify that he's the music director for the Philadelphia Orchestra. We can include pretty much as many metadata pieces as we want to. We're working with ArchiveSpace more right now, but when we do get to Digital Archive, we're going to discuss what kinds of categorizations will be most helpful for researchers best to find and use the material. So you can access ArchiveSpace and Digital Archives by visiting the library website. You can click that third tab at the top that says Special Collections and Archives, and you can scroll down to the tab that says Searching Our Collections, and there'll be 2 hyperlinks there that will take you to both of those. By this point, you may be wondering why this is my project and why we are going through all this spreadsheet sorting work. This collection has been part of our Special Collections Archives since the 1980s with minimal description due to its ever-growing nature. In fact, we just received a shipment of theater-related books from the donor. He just visited last week and was helping us sort through a bunch of cassette tapes. We continue to learn more about the collection as he further informs us about the collection. So, and not only does this collection need our attention, but so do other performing arts collections. So we actually have a lot of materials from the American Shakespeare Center, and we have a collection that is performing arts based from the 1920s. It's called the Beeler Collection. So our work with the Strouss collection will inform how we move forward with those other performing arts collections. Performing arts are also unique because most of the materials, like the performances they capture, are ephemeral, so they were only meant to exist briefly, oftentimes just for the day of the performance. So we really want to preserve these programs well because they aren't always well archived, and we want people to be able to access them. And speaking of access, by describing, categorizing, and digitizing these playbills, we are making this collection more accessible for researchers across various fields. I personally have come up with a few areas that would make for interesting research because you as the viewer want to hear about applications. The last group, I believe they call it opportunities, right? I like the sound of that, theater opportunities. What opportunities does this collection provide for researchers? This collection would give researchers the ability to track the evolution of certain organizations like Carnegie Hall, like Lincoln Center, so that you can see the types of performances they put on as time progresses. There are also organizations that support the arts that we have publications for, like the Wagner Society, like the Lambs. Similarly, you could trace the careers of specific people that you would be interested in. You can also research how different organizations celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and certain times of year. My example would be the earlier program I was showing you was we have tons of Carnegie Hall centennial materials. And we also have tons of material from 1976. So you could look up how different performing arts groups celebrated this country's bicentennial. The collection contains a number of posters and promotional materials. For our many business and econ-focused friends, this collection really is a treasure trove. We have ads for nearly everything. We have transportation and travel, fashion and Fords, clubs and restaurants, alcohol and cigarettes, and Danny Kaye and Heinz ketchup. We really do have ads for almost any area you could be interested in. Here are some seasonal ones. You can tell the holidays are coming up from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade materials here. And you know, Christmas is around the corner when you have Santa delivering a pack of Camel cigarettes. And the ads, of course, make me think of art. This is art in its own right, guys. This makes me think of art because the style, when you look at the style of these ads, the style changes over time, and that's true of the playbills themselves and the artwork that they feature on the covers. So the same show might have different artwork over time and across locations. Sorry, I just saw Margaret smiling there. I giggled. Someone may want to dive deeper into the history of a specific show. So you might want to ask, who are the many actors that have played Tevye over time? Or how has the show Hair traditionally been performed? How has it been received by audiences in different places and at different times? These kinds of trends can tell different types of stories. Because, you know, different regions have their own cultures, their own histories at different times, and theater materials tend to reflect people's ideas and realities. Because personally, I have never been urged in 2023 by Mama Cass lyrics to go out and start my own carefree kazoo band for $1. This is just not something that happens today. So, yes, 2 minutes. I'll be done in 2 minutes. I can do that. Yes, this is a product of its time. And as is every piece that we have here in the Henry Strouss collection. So all this to say that this collection helps fill in gaps of information about the rich world of performing arts. So one of the joys of this project for me has been getting to know the playbills. A familiar name can really help me connect to what I'm reading. And when you sort through this many playbills, you start to learn the names of shows and people. It's very easy to get invested in the history of the theater and then become curious about its present state and where it might go in the future. So those are some of the questions that have gotten me very excited about the Henry Strouss collection. A challenge I'm facing would be just the sheer extent of the collection. So I've been saying we have a variety of different things, but we have nearly 8,000 playbill programs holed up in the special collection classroom, so poke your head in and visit me. But though my work as a summer research scholar ends before the school year, processing this collection's sheer volume will be an ongoing project. So whether or not you're particularly interested in this project, come talk to me, come talk to Maddie Clear, because there are projects like this one on the way. We want to get to know you, and we want to share our excitement for archival work with you. And by the end of the summer, I will have built a greater understanding of the language of archive space, the digital archives, and other systems from other libraries that have their own collections. So thank you for your time. Now is the time for questions. If you have more specific questions, these are the emails at WLU. You know where to find them. And
time for one question, maybe?
Okay.
In the back.
Yeah, I found this really interesting, and I'm wondering what is the range of physical condition of the materials that you're examining?
Ooh.
Because as you think about going to making them digital, the physical condition of the original materials will play a role in
Surely.
how you do that. And then, yeah, I guess if I can ask a second question with it, sometimes work on paper, ironically, has a longer lifetime than digital media because digital storage media change so frequently and formats change so frequently.
Truly.
What are you and the team thinking about with the method of digital storage and what is the physical condition of the material?
We did have some of those very old materials that are like wrapped in plastic that's like 1826, you know. But a lot of it is actually in really good shape, at least what we've gone through Carnegie Hall, whatnot. We haven't moved to digitization quite yet. Paul Kaiser is the master of that. But yes, we have talked about how sometimes the digital things can disappear. So in our digital archives, we can also take snapshots of those like digital materials that like the website breaks, the link is gone, that sort of deal. But yeah, it would be a large process of scanning. For those cassette tapes that I vaguely mentioned, like, oh, the donor is here to set that off, sometimes that's the last time we can put it through is when we upload it to the archive space. But very question that takes more time than I have been able to give you right now, but I want to get into that, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.